Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. We talk about anything and everything that has to do with wedding ceremonies. My name is Clint Huft, and with me is a gentleman that, well, he's got a special hope chest, and I'm excited to explore the one and only J.P. Reynolds.
Clint, so good to see you.
It's always good to see you.
All right.
All right. So, if you're joining us for the first time, you should know that both JP and I are wedding officiants. We've been doing it for a long time. JP's website for his officiant services are jprweddings.com. And everything that I do is just on my website. It's my name, Clint Huft, CLINTHUFFT.com. And also, you should know that JP is a communications expert. The businessofconfidence.com is that website. And he is an accomplished author. His books are in the Amazon store and in the Kindle store in Amazon. JP, have you ever thought about writing another book?
Yes, though not about weddings
Oh,
in the realm of communication.
oh, yeah. Okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And storytelling.
And storytelling.
The importance of storytelling, how to tell a story. You see, oh, you are so good. You are so good. You just throw me out a line and it's just, I grab it and I was so patiently sitting here. I was like, whatever Clint wants to talk about today is fine. I will just say that I so firmly believe that the art of conversation is in peril. And I am amazed at how many people actually come to me for my services because they want me to teach them how to have a conversation. Yeah.
What do you begin with? What's the first thing you say?
I teach at UCLA Extension a class on business communication, and I use no PowerPoint. So the class is driven by conversation, exercise, and oftentimes I will make a presentation and I'll pause and I'll say, you know what, why don't you turn to the person next to you and explore this question? And I'll give them a prompt. And it's just an opportunity to have a conversation with someone that they've not met before, however, they are in class with. You would think that I had asked them to run naked down Wilshire Boulevard. I don't know him. I don't want to know him. I have nothing to say to him. I don't care what he thinks. Now, I will say by the 11th week, the room is buzzing with conversation. And people realize maybe we do have something in common. Even though 11 weeks ago when I walked in, I looked at that person, I thought, there is no way I have anything in common with that person.
Right.
So what you and I do on this podcast and what all of the other many great podcasters around the globe do, that art of conversation, it's something that people are intrigued by. Most people don't know how to engage in it.
Okay. Well, you are the communications expert, so I'll accept that.
You, like you are curious about people.
Absolutely. That's the key, I think.
Actually, someone said you're nosy, but I would say you're curious. You're curious about people. This is what we bring. Let me now finally say the word wedding. This is what we bring to our work in the wedding world is we are honorably curious about the couple.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing in regards to what the ceremony contains. But let's go back to the communication part. How important is it, in your opinion, to tell the couple's story? Because I know you get this every now and then where the couple will say, well, when do you tell our story? Have you had that question in the initial conversation?
Okay, so let's all hold hands, have a moment of Zen, because every one of us, for you, me, and all of the folks who are listening, a majority of whom are officiants. So we each have our own approach, our own style, our own philosophy about what makes this ceremony. And that is what allows us to have our own individual stamp and our own brand. So for me, in all of the years that I've been officiating, maybe I only once told a couple's story.
Really?
I officiated my niece's wedding last October, and she and Daniel have been together for 9 years. And I did not tell their story, nor did I really share stories of my memories of me and Grace when Grace was growing up. And the reason is this. It's just my style. I'm of the belief that there are other places for the story to be told. On occasion, a couple will ask me about it, and I will say I find it more appropriate for the best man, the maid of honor, the parents, because they're going to have a perspective that there's no way I can have.
Oh, that's a really good point. That's a really good response too. I mean, when they say that to me, I just kind of table it. I'll say, well, let's construct the ceremony first. And then, because I always have the feeling that they think they're supposed to have that, like they're supposed to tell their story. And my attitude is between the two of you, you already know your story. The people that you invited, in my opinion, they're just lucky they get to watch this thing that you're doing, this amazing moment in your life. In terms of telling your story, I will, if you know, but let's construct the ceremony first. And more often than not, the couple realizes that the story isn't critical, that a lot, what I try to explain is what you choose to include in your ceremony reveals a lot about who you are as individuals and as a couple. But having
Right.
said that, I always have the attitude of, whatever you want, we're going to do the best we can in order to make sure that you're happy on the during that moment on the wedding day. One of the things I tell them is I'm not going to tell you don't do it. I'm just going to tell you what'll happen if you do it. So if they want to include that story of how they met or whatever the case may be,
Right.
if they say personal vows to each other, I make sure they understand that they're talking to each other, that they don't have to relive history because it's not relevant. What's relevant is why they want to marry each other right now. And so tell that to each other, talk to each other. In fact, I'll print out their personal vows if they email them to me ahead of time. And when I hand them to them, I don't let them touch a microphone. I think that's really important. They're amateurs. I don't let them touch a microphone. I just want them to connect with each other. And when I hand it to them, and right before I lift the microphone, I say, just talk to him to see if I can get that vibe from the page through their eyes and into the other person. In
Right.
regards to their story, which to me means history, I don't think it's really that important. I mean, I'll
Right.
do it if they send it to me and I'll edit it to make sure that it's, succinct.
I know that we have a colleague and a friend, Christopher, who is known for crafting a couple story. I mean, I
Right.
think that's one of the signature aspects of his ceremony, and I think perhaps we should invite him on because I have been curious to hear his approach.
Okay, now wait a minute. He listens to this. So
Yes,
now
I
as far
know.
as as far as he's concerned, he's flying to LA to talk to us.
Okay, no, Christopher, you're not flying to LA. As a New Yorker, I will come to you, but all right. But here's the thing. I find on those rare occasions when a couple made clear that they very much want their story incorporated in the ceremony, what I have done is you write your story and then let's get one or two people close to you read it, and that is the reading in the ceremony
Oh, I like that.
rather than a piece of poetry or scripture. It is once upon a time.
I like that. I like that a lot of times couple will use somebody close to them that they say knows them, air
Right.
quotes, in order to actually officiate the entire ceremony, allowing somebody that's close to them to share their story within the context of our ceremony.
Right.
I love that solution. I think that's fantastic. And
Right.
do they usually go for that?
Yes.
I like
Yes.
that a lot.
Yes. Because I can be very persuasive
Yes, yes, you can.
as I channel my mother. Let me say, my mother can be very persuasive. I'm listening to you today, Clint, and I'm thinking, oh, God, do I wish this man had met my mother? There's a number of times you've already said happy. We want the couple to be happy. And my mother is just screaming in my ear, what is wrong with that man? Now they don't
Happy.
need to be happy. I mean, what's that? But I like the idea, if I do say so myself, because I am always looking for ways to incorporate friends and family of the couple who have a symbolic meaning in their lives. For instance, if it's a smaller wedding, I love getting the mothers to present the rings, or the parents, or the fathers, or readings. You want just one reading. I love if you get somebody from the bride side, somebody from the groom side, and they together present the reading. At my niece's wedding, her mother and our now husband's mother each did a reading. And the mothers picked, I gave them a PDF of readings I've collected. They each picked their own reading, didn't tell Gracie or Daniel. So it was kind of that gift and that surprise at the ceremony for them.
That makes me a little nervous. I always get a little bit nervous when the couple will pick somebody to do a reading. See, I like that you say pick from these curated samples as opposed to I'm going to surprise you with the reading. And then I always really emphasize in the best way possible, in the nicest way possible, please have them send me what they're going to read. Please, please, please send it to me.
Right.
And it isn't so much, well, I just want to make sure I know where to put it because I think a ceremony is like a 3-act play. At the very
Right.
beginning, when you welcome everybody, it's all about love. And then in the middle, it's all the commitments, I do and rings and that kind of stuff. And then the third thing would be looking forward, whatever is going, okay, marriage is blah, 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 blah. And so I want to place it. But every now and then they'll have somebody who thinks they have the same sense of humor as the couple and their families, and it can go horribly wrong.
That is not my overriding concern. My overriding concern is length because I got burnt one time. Because there was a time in my life where it's like, no, it's your uncle. I don't need to see the reading. It's just, just make sure he brings a copy and God love you. Oh my God. Like, could we have intermission? Could you serve drinks? All right. And with the reading, made the Odyssey look like a short story. And it was entitled, of course, what was the title? The classic title was "What Is a Marriage?"
Oh
Okay?
man.
And I'm going to really date myself. In the old days, when it was that phrase, "Give him the hook," it was like this man just needed. And ever since that day, it is like there is no reading in my ceremony unless I see the reading. Yeah, but I couch it in a solicitous manner. Oh, please email me the reading so as I can bring a backup copy for your uncle.
Oh, wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Yes. For me, there's
Well,
really only two places to have the reading. Attention span is limited. No matter how wonderful you are, no matter how wonderful I am, no matter how gorgeous the couple might be, hopefully, is people want to drink. Nobody cares about a reading. They really don't. They don't care about Emily Dickinson. They don't care about St. Paul and the Corinthians. They don't. What has the emotional impact is who is doing the reading. So people love if you get the aunt and she's, starting to cry when she walks up to the microphone. And it's like, yeah, cry, baby, cry. That's what we want. That's what I want. I want tears. Okay. And everybody goes, oh, she helped to raise Molly. Oh, that's so sweet. Or you get a gruff lumberjack of an uncle and he gets teary-eyed. Yes, baby, that's what I want. Okay. It's just, yeah, a sloppy kiss to the bride after he's done. That's the purpose of the reading. That's the only thing that a reading can do. That's it. That's it. Or it's a paid position. You have a relative who's agreed to give you $1,000 if they incorporate them in the ceremony. And it's like, fine, I'll give you a reading for a grand. I'll take 10% off the top. A grand? Absolutely. That's what the reading is all about. No one cares that love is patient and love is kind. Yeah, no one. Nor do I. All right. So for me, the long reading goes, my words of welcome, reading. Then I offer some personal words to the couple. And then if they have a shorter reading, I suggest that it serve as a prelude to the exchange of vows.
I like that.
So, but it has to be, if you have two readings, you can't decide, I want two readings, longer reading first, shorter reading right before the vows. It's a prelude, boom, leads us into it.
My collection of readings, there's what I call the full size readings, which are the ones that we're all pretty familiar with. But then I've collected about, I don't know, 20, 25 of these, what I call the one liners. Like, for instance, from Harry Met Sally, when you meet
Oh,
your future, I want the future to start as soon as possible, that sort of thing.
right. So as to
And
get it over with.
you mean the reading?
No, no, your future.
That's Let's jump in
I
with full
wanted to
feet.
start now so as to get it over with, but go ahead.
So those, I prefer to read those myself because they're quick and I don't want to take the time for somebody to come up and then, I don't blah, blah,
Right.
blah.
So you don't hand out those one-liners to the couple.
Oh, yeah, I do.
Oh,
Yeah, I
see,
do.
I have my own personal PDF of one-liners. I never share them.
How do you know which one to pick? Or do you?
Well, from conversation with the couple.
Okay.
See, this is interesting, Clint, this whole conversation. I collect, we'll call them one-liners, those brief, but that's for my personal use to inspire me that I may weave in at some transition moment or whatever.
Do you have all of
Uh,
those memorized?
well, I do memorize. When I select one, I will memorize it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I can't recite them to you now.
Well, you probably have a favorite, one or two that are favorites that you can just, anytime you want to, you can just spout that, like at a cocktail party or whatever, really impress somebody. Then you just have it in your.
Well, my favorite is the song "What's Love Got to Do with It."
Just a secondhand
I'm only
emotion.
kidding, only kidding. It's interesting that you brought this conversation today in this direction because sometimes I will have a couple, each of whom has a Catholic background. For an event planner who knows me and knows my background, it's like, oh, well, they don't want to be married in the church, but here's somebody who has that Catholic ministerial background
Sure.
and might make your grandmother feel a little more comfortable. So,
Yes.
as you may know, in the Catholic Church, there's something called pre-Cana,
Right.
and every couple is required to experience the pre-Cana. It's a retreat of sorts where the couple are guided in conversations regarding not only the spiritual dimensions of their marriage, but oftentimes the practical dimensions of handling finances and planning for children, et cetera, et cetera.
I always thought that it was the Catholic version of premarital counseling. Is that a fair assessment?
In very broad terms, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes when a couple with a Catholic background meet with me, they, of course, because they have a Catholic background, they feel guilty for not being married in the Catholic Church. Like, yes, okay. And then once we get past the guilt, there's the question of, my friends did pre-Cana. And I said, well, you don't have to be married in the Catholic Church to do pre-Cana. Pre-Cana is technically open to anybody. And then typically the groom will say, yeah, but I don't want to give up my weekend. It's a little too Catholic. On my website, I indicate my work in communications. So I don't offer premarital counseling because I'm not a therapist. However, what I do offer for couples is what I call premarital communication coaching, in the sense that every couple, no matter how healthy the relationship, there's always typically one or two areas that present speed bumps for how they communicate on a regular basis in terms of
Right.
maybe how they have an argument or how they express feelings or the little games they play. And sometimes a couple will separately hire me to do some communication coaching.
Sure.
So I have a couple whose wedding I'll be doing later in the year who fit this demographic. And I met with them over the weekend. Now, I don't have a set program for this premarital communication coaching. It's basically you're the couple, you know what your issue is. Let's just throw it on the table, rummage around, explore, and let me help you look at it from a couple of new angles. So it's very individualized approach. This couple, very sweet, and funny, and they weren't quite sure where to begin. So I said, well, why don't we take a different approach? I said, why don't you tell me what is it? Because I always believe if you're engaged, one would hope you don't need premarital counseling. Now, I know there are some people who do need premarital counseling when they're engaged, but for the most part, one would hope that the relationship is in a good place if you're engaged. I'm not naive about this, and with this couple, my instinct said, yeah, this is really, they're good. So I said, well, why don't we begin with each of you telling me what is it that you most treasure about the other?
Oh, I like that.
The groom began. He said, she is So selfless in the way she loves people, and so selfless in how she loves me. And no one has ever loved me the way that she loves me. Oh, stabbed me in the heart. Okay.
Yeah, that's sweet.
So, it's a very emotional moment. It's very raw. She responded, she knows that he would never judge her, that
Oh,
he loves her for who she is. And she may do things that he would disagree with, and she may do things that he will call her on, but she will always be loved by him. And as she told this story, as she spoke, she became very emotional. She started to cry. And she apologized. And I said, no, I said, this is what your wedding's going to be like. I'm going to make sure that the two of you are just blubbering, blubbering fools. I said, you still have time to rip up the contract, but I'm being very honest with you. All right. But what it made me realize, first of all, it was an exquisite conversation. It's a conversation that I have a very thorough conversation with people. All right. So by the time that first Zoom is completed, they have a clear sense of what the ceremony could look like. I have a sense of who they are as a couple. But this weekend's conversation went down a level. And it made me think, I was able to go down a level because they invited me to.
you mean when you say down a level, you mean deeper? You got deeper into
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah. Because they invited me to.
right.
And it is interesting how each couple uses us in their own particular way. It uses us in the sense as a resource. There are some couples, as I'm sure you know, who you have the first meeting, it goes well, it's like great. And then they're putting their ceremony together, I presume, according to your guidance, and ship it off to you. And it's a quick second conversation and see you on the lawn. And then for others, like this couple, it's very late. They said, we really want to get to know you.
They said that about you. They want to get to know
Yes,
JP.
yes, and so we're talking about do we want to tell their story? And it's like, oh no, no, we want to know your story. We want to know you. And it's like, and she said, so when should we meet again? And I said, well, and I make myself, you hire me for life. So I'm available however you want to use me. It doesn't matter to me. But it was different.
Well, it's almost like they feel like they've let you into the inner circle. That, you know what I mean? They have this emotional connection to you that they probably won't have with any other vendor. Even their event planner won't have this depth of connection
Right.
because of what you allowed them to open up in a safe space.
Mhm.
But I agree with you. I mean, I always say I'm available. If you have any questions, you can email me, you can call me, you can do whatever you want, knowing with pretty confidently that they'll realize that they don't need to. But I want them
Right.
to realize that, to realize that the ceremony is taking shape and everything is going to be taken care of and all that kind of stuff. So I it's nice though to give them that sense of comfort that we are available, but we have the confidence that they won't, I'm here if they want to. I have told a couple of couples that said, do you do premarital counseling? And I did say, I'm not licensed to do that. But if you want to have a conversation, I'll talk to you. And I do have premarital questionnaires if you want to have a conversation just amongst yourselves. But I think it's really important to be completely transparent about I'm licensed to do this and I'm not licensed to do that. We've run out of time. Thanks,
Bye.
JP. Was that
So
the
much
long
for that
reading?
conversation. Guess he's telling that conversation. We're done. That conversation is over.
And scene. All right, JP, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
My website is jprweddings.com. It's a great place to find me.
Perfect. Mine is Clint Huft, CLINTHUFFT.com for all the things I do. Please remember, and you can see how good he is at this. JP is a communications expert. TheBusinessOfConfidence.com is that website. That's it for this episode of the Wedding Ceremony Podcast. This is Clint, and on behalf of JP, we will see you next time.